Hi, I'm Rob. I make it better. That's what I do. Now, two pros are interesting because they have a couple of things going on they don't know and understand. One, they don't have connection. They don't know how to sustain it and keep doing it. I demonstrated that last year why they lose it. And there's a video here on YouTube from last year. And the second thing is that they have an unnatural sequence. So, and that has led to a perception problem because people, when they look at the golf swing for a 2 Pro, you may think they have a great sequence. They don't. They have an unnatural sequence. That means that they are stuck and need to compensate. They all do. Amateurs are even worse. This is why you lose distance from tee. Right. So a 2 Pro has that kind of a problem, right? And it leads to situations like this. I saw Morikawa a few years back. He was in the lead on Sunday. And from fairway, he hit an iron shot, and he went into trouble, right? And he made a bogey or a double bogey or something. He lost the tournament, right? Now, most people, when they watch that, probably miss this. Morikawa thought, he hit a great shot. Because he looked down, he looked at the ball, he looked down at the fairway, he looked at the caddy with this look in his face, his body language was like, what the fuck just happened? He didn't know. I mean, you don't know something, what happened, because his indication, his internal, his brain, and everything he hit with the shot, great swing, should be a great shot, and it was just, imagine that you do something you think is absolutely amazing, and then it just turns to shit, and you don't know why. What are you going to do? Well, probably going to go to swing guru, whatever that might be, coach. They can't fix it, because they teach you to be having an unnatural sequence, to be stuck, and need to compensate from when you're kid. I mean, that's what happens. Now, this leads to a perception problem because people assume what the 2 Pro has is a great sequence. No, they don't. Again, people, that's in the know, they ask me about something, I say, well, they're stuck and they compensate because of this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And they go, wow, because you can't see it. When Immelman analyzes swing for PGA Tour or something like that, he's full of shit, right? He doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's a perception problem, right? A few hundred years ago, everybody assumed it to be true that the sun was traveling around Earth because it woke up, sun goes up on one side, goes down on the other side, and they keep doing that. The sun is traveling around Earth like, the moon. Then one guy, built a telescope, looked at in space and said, hey guys, that's not how it works. They wanted to kill him. It was heresy. Because everybody assumed what they, to be true, must be true. It wasn't. And it goes into your memory. When something is in your memory, that's a reality. The new information, some guy talking about the sun, it doesn't, it's because now we call the solar system, that can't be right. 400 years. Nowadays, why would they believe something like that? It's stupid, right? But here's the thing. You never checked. You never went out in space and looked at, is this how it actually works? Because it's in your books, right? And everything people teach you in the books must be correct, right? Because when I ask people about this stuff, I say, who invented the radio? Nikola Tesla did. Is that the name that pops up in your head? Or ask the question, who invented the radio? And you probably don't. The 2 Pros has 2 problems, right? They don't understand connection. They have an unnatural sequence. It's not natural. This is the reason why you struggle as a 2 Pro if you didn't know that. So you are stuck now and you have to compensate and you don't know that because that's your swing. So when people have been learned to do, the golf swing, they look at the golf swing, they think, oh, this is a great golf swing. What I see is that they are stuck and compensate. I had a buddy of mine over a few years back. I had him over. And, he played golf and said, you have any 2 Pro golfer that you really like to swing? He said, oh yeah, that one. And I put it almost, and he said, that's a good one. So we had some golf here. I talked about golf swing and show horns. I talked about some things about the body and other things, for a while. Anyway, at the end, I said, and I put up the golfer, the swing he liked, and he looked at it and he went, oh. Because now he could see what actually did happen in the golf swing, and the guy was not swinging so pretty anymore or beautiful anymore. So when you hear, two pro gurus analyze a swing and they tell you they have a great sequence, I'd say, no, they are 100% wrong about that, because they are stuck and need to compensate. This is why you lose your swing as a two pro, if you didn't know that. This is why you see Bryson or Scotty Scheffler on the range after a round in Masters or something like that. I'm gritting it out. That's what the peer, who are a golf expert tells you. Oh, he's gritting it out. No, it's just this swing is clicking, and they don't know why. They can't fix it. I saw Bernard Lange's stock shot, 67 years old, that he hit 250-yard driver. That's kind of, tragic if you ask me. He should be easily to add 50 meters to his driver as a stock shot, right? And still be able to hit the shots the way he wants. But people can teach you that as a two pro. 14 years ago, Luke Donald was number 1 in the world, number 1. And he wanted 30 more meters to win majors. What happened? Well, his swing coach, when he told him, hey, I want 30 more meters, man. And the swing coach, he couldn't do that. So he went to another guy. And he lost his game, number 1 position in the world, got some back problems along the way, and he has a pretty weak piece of ass shit swing. With being stuck, because if you try to power it up, this will happen, right? So that's the two pro gurus, they don't know. Now the problem is that you assume all this is true, that what you talk about and teach on in the PGA. One of my seniors, he's 66 years old, he was out playing in South Europe somewhere. He was out playing, and he was playing with his local club pro, right? The guy, for PGA that teaches people to swing. And on 17 or 18, the guy was telling him, my guy, he should change his grip, back to the modern golf grip here and all that stuff. And my guy was explaining to him why he didn't want to do that, because of, I teach, And the local club would, that's Ledbetter or, Hank Haney or Pete Cowan or Sean Fuller, they do that. Put on. That's what they do when you tell them, what they teach is shit. I think that's how it works. So anyway, the local clubber goes up and hits the drive and he hooks it into trouble. And if I was there, I would go, how many years have you been teaching golf? And they would say, oh, about 20 years. And you're not even able to fix that yet, that's why you hook it. Kind of weird if you think about it. Or the slice, or the skanks, or whatever it might be that's going on for it, because they can't fix them. Their swing always breaks down. The local club pros swing always break down. But Chalmers, Hank Haney, Ledbetter, Pete Cowan, Sean Fuller, whatever you name them, all their swings breaks down. They can't fix themselves. The second thing they can't fix is the two pro swing breakdown, like Morikawa's, and the two pro gurus can't fix it. When you want more distance as a two pro, they can't help you, because you get either back problems, or you get dispersion problems, or you get other problems. And they can't fix it. You're always going to have a broken swing that's stuck, and you need to compensate. I don't teach that, right? Because I understand how it works. 10 years ago, I told people about Lydia Cohn, golf Ferrex. It's a golf expert, right? That she would lose a game. All those people told me I was wrong, but they didn't know what I knew. When I looked at what Ledbetter was doing with Lydia Cohn, he added more complexity. So she was hitting the ball in one way, and then he added a little bit more complexity to what she was doing. And usually that spells trouble. I could have been wrong, I made an educated guess here. That's probably going to be that she's going to have struggle more. And if you struggle a little bit with your golf swing, as a two pro, that means that you're going to lose your game, because it's going to lead to other problems. So what happens? She lost the game. What happened? She fired 1 caddy, 2 caddy, 3 caddy, 4 caddy, 5. I don't know how many caddies she fired, because she didn't understand what was happening. She lost the game, and she couldn't get it back. Now, Lydia Ko from 10 years ago, before Ledbetter, would kick today's Lydia Ko's ass. She got worse. She still hasn't regained. She's not a bad player, obviously, but she hasn't regained what she had, because she has more complexity to her swing than she used to. Because people who looks at golf swing, analyze golf swing, who has that for a living, doesn't understand golf swing mechanics. So you have 2 problems, well actually 3 problems. You have connection problem, unnatural swing, because you're stuck and need to compensate. That's your swing. The people say it's great. I don't see it great. I see it's, how much they. And then you have a perception problem, because you will think Fred Coppers has a great golf swing. It's an absolute piece of shit. Why do you think he has a back problem for decades? Why do you think Tiger Woods broke his back? There's some other people who was really talented and broke their back and couldn't play golf, and continued to play on tour because the back got cranked up for them. A few years back, I was watching a guy who's like 19 playing on tour. Trying to get to playing a tour event, down south in Spain, and he had such a back problem he could probably hit the ball 160 meters with driver or something like that because he's had such a problem with his back. 19 years old, and the reason for that is that the PGA teacher doesn't know what to teach is broken. Right? They teach you to be stuck, so you have to compensate. That's your swing now. And now you have a perception problem because you think that sequence you look at now when the 2-pro is so great when it's actually unnatural. It's not natural. And when something is not natural for us to do because of body mechanics and whatever else, that leads to a problem of timing and coordination. I was watching Jordan Spieth. He lost his game 10 years ago, if you didn't know that. I know why. He doesn't. His swing guru doesn't. And he was playing pretty well in a tournament for him nowadays. Pretty well for him nowadays is kind of, maybe he could win. 10 years ago he would win it. And the reason, is that his swing mechanics, he was playing pretty well in this recent tournament. And out of nowhere he just hit the slice. And I see all the things he's doing in that slice and I was like, why don't, the 2-pro gurus fix that? Because they don't know. You assume they know what they're talking about, so you will assume I'm wrong, right? I'm Galileo. I'm the guy who looks up in space and sees that the sun is actually, not traveling around Earth. It's actually Earth traveling around the sun. And you and everybody else in golf are the people on Earth looking, you're wrong because look at the sun goes up here and it goes down there, it goes around Earth. Well, look in the telescope. I don't want to do that. 150 years ago, give or take, 170 maybe it is now, you had this guy, he's a doctor, he was telling his medical college, wash your hands, guys. If you have an autopsy, you have to wash your hands, not use a towel. Most people didn't know that. 170 years ago, they did this. And the towel was not clean. So they do an autopsy and then they just do this. And then they go deliver a baby. In some hospitals at the time, the death rate of a baby was, being delivered was around 50%. So if you're going to have a baby and you have 50% chance that your baby's going to die, and this guy comes and tells you, he's the doctor, right? He's a doctor, medical doctor, everything, and he tells the college, I did this research, and if everybody washed their hands, boom, the death rate of babies go from 30 to 50%, which was very common out there. 30%, that's not good odds. It goes down to around 1%. And he told his medical community, the experts, the people who sits in the leadership in college and all that stuff, and they were telling him, are you telling us we are killing babies? Yeah. And all you need to fix is to wash your hands. When people have something in the memory, right, which is reality for people, the environment that you interact with is not reality. People get that wrong. And they just told him he was crazy. And they discredited him and fired him and removed his license for medical stuff. Now, when I was telling people at Golfer X that Lydia Ko will lose a game, they were calling me crazy. When she lost the game, none of them who called me crazy sent me an email and said, how did you know? People don't think about stuff like that. Anyway, I have this tester of mine, and he told me years ago that, I spent 5 years, I have had 12 different PGA teachers like Hank Henry, Sean Foley, Pete Cobb and stuff like that, and my swing doesn't work when I play. And I said, okay. I looked at it and said, okay, I understand why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And 12 PGA teachers couldn't teach them that because they didn't know, they couldn't see it, because they didn't understand what they were doing. So you have as a golf expert, you probably are because you've been watching, the tour players, talk about the golf swing and how it works and all that stuff, they're wrong. You are watching the two pro gurus, they're wrong. And you don't understand what you see in a golf swing like Fred Couples or, Rory McIlroy or whatever, that they're actually stuck and have to compensate all the time. This is why they lose the swing. As a two pro, you know this. You lose a connection and your swing goes to wonky and you can't hit and you don't know why. So you go back and try to work it out, but it never works after 30 or 40 years of that work, because they all teach you to be stuck and compensate. You can't fix that. It's not possible. So what I do and learned to do when I understood how this works is that I can teach people so you can hit and swing, so you can always have connection. You're going to develop a natural golf swing sequence, and when you do that, this golf swing is simple as fuck. But it requires you to change your grip. It requires you to do some drills. And it also requires some, in-depth explanations that I don't provide here on YouTube because I don't want to. So if you're a two pro or such in that field, if you want this, it's very simple. I can't work because I have an illness called ME/CFS. And this talk is actually stretching me a little bit here. So, but you see the guy here, put him up in there, Hans. You can go, pay him, and play with him, and he will teach you everything. And if you have any question after playing with him and you've been teaching all that stuff, you can ask me. But it won't be many questions. More like, how the fuck did no one else understand this in the world? Well, most people don't think about that stuff. How the fuck did Einstein come up with all this stuff that he did? He predicted things that science can prove 100 years later. Give it that. Why didn't anyone else understand how gravity, when the apple fell down on Newton? Or, a bunch of other things. They were basically all called them, what do you mean an apple fell down? They do that all the time. Yeah, we call it gravity because, of this and this and this, and people go, what are you talking about? Newton, modern ideas, right? I'm right, and every two pro guru is wrong about what they teach and understand. And that leads to the perception problem, right? You assume they know what they're talking about. You assume that they, must be because they get paid a lot of money. It doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. I mean, the ball laws in golf, for example, is people teaching this is how the ball behaves if you in the path and and such, the club face angle, and then we had science, with the trackman and show that was actually the opposite what everybody assumed to be true, and what everybody else was teaching. Best moment for me is in the morning. I have a cup of coffee. Some people say that's a latte. Yes, that is. I make them at my home. So I have, in the mornings I have most energy. I have what people call an energy recovery illness. Some people call it long COVID nowadays. It's ME/CFS. I have it 25 years. And what happens is that you have people in the doctor's house that you have an energy recovery problem. If you do some exhaustion like a walk or I can't, for example, I can't go to the gym, I can't go for a run, I haven't been able to do that for 25 years. I can't read books anymore because when I try to read, my brain goes to absolute mush. And I can't, travel. I tried to travel a bit short trip last year in the summer, and I had to be on painkillers for the whole trip. And there's something you don't want to. I'm gonna go there. The first thing I'm gonna go is pop a painkiller because my body is reacting badly. You don't want to do shit like that. That's why traveling or working is not an option. Most people don't understand how this stuff works anyway. So I take that moment in the morning, have my own cafe latte, maybe make a video or two. Well, just one, actually, not two. And this is how it works. As a two pro, two pros knows about it. Even two pro caddies knows about it. About connection doesn't work for them. It just kind of disappears, and they don't know why. They have no explanation for it, which leads to a mystery. And since they don't even understand that what they're doing is an unnatural sequence, and they are actually stuck and need to compensate as a default, they don't know that. They think that's how it's supposed to be. That's a perception problem, right? And everybody assumes that to be the way it's supposed to be, until someone like me comes along and tells people that's wrong, because they don't understand what you're talking about, teach. They say the same thing about Galileo, Newton, or Einstein at one point in time. People in the field of astrophysics, when Einstein came along, whew, do you think they were like, we believe you? And he had math. Math you can't fuck with. Einstein, this is my equations. Check them out. And they were like, we don't want to check them out because you're wrong. What? They actually made a book, 101 Ways Einstein is Wrong. There's a book actually, apparently, I don't know if it's real or not, made up hooks from a magazine or whatever. And Einstein's response was like, if I was wrong, only one of them would be enough. But he wasn't. But when you challenge the assumed true thing you believe to be true in golf, and you don't understand you're 100% wrong about what you understand, people kind of feel, calling other people then crazy for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I mean, you tell people, all you need to do is wash your hands. Who invented the radio? Nikola Tesla did. And people go, no, he didn't. It was someone else. They were teaching me. It was in the book in school. Did you fact check it? No, of course not. I was trusting my teacher and the book. People get things wrong all the fucking time. Sometimes you get things right, but it's very, 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 very rare to get things right, especially in golf. So when people tell you to keep your head still in golf, for example, or keep your left arm straight, or hit down on, with irons, they're actually teaching you to do things that create problems, and they don't know that. So anyway, I'm a little bit exhausted. I just wanted to give you the idea of impression of your perception is wrong, that you can't have connection with the modern golf swing. Second thing, you're stuck and need to compensate. That's your default golf swing, and you can't fix it. Two pro gurus can't fix it because they don't understand it. Because when you look and they look at the golf swing like Rory McIlroy or whoever, they think, "Wow, that's a great sequence." Him and Ben analyzes some PG. Oh, that's a great sequence. And I see stuck, compensate this way, this way, this way, this way, and I can count them out. So if you're a tour pro and you really want to understand how this shit works, play with Hans, learn what he does, pay him, and learn something you never knew existed in golf ever, that no one else knows about. That'd be fun, right? Just so people understand the difference it could make. If someone is ranked around 100 on the, on the OVG, which is kind of a mess anyway nowadays because you can't, tell how skilled people are on other tours for whatever reason. That will make a big difference. Because basically everybody, have the same problems on tour. If you fix that, so when you go swing, you always have connection. You can always do a natural sequence, and you incorporate that, and you have to go boom, boom. You just hit the shot. Your swing never fails. It always will work. And people in golf knows what I just said can't be true because you're an expert, right? In golf.